Hello noble ones, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking, and today I would like to talk about a specific individual by the name of Pam Bondi. Now, for those of you who are not aware, Pam Bondi is the current US Attorney General, having been confirmed by the Senate on February 4th, 2025. She's a Republican. She's also served as the 37th Florida Attorney General from 2011 to 2019. And among other things, she's also completely out of her mind. 3 days ago, episode 6 of the Katie Miller podcast was released, and Attorney General Pam Bondi reacted to the death of Charlie Kirk. Of course, we were all waiting for this. We all wanted to see prominent politicians and people in power to make strong stances when it comes to what happened to Charlie Kirk. However, from the 53 minutes and 43 seconds of podcast interview, there is a specific clip that people have been quite mad about, and rightly so. Watch.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech.
Nonsense.
And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society.
You have no idea who Charlie Kirk was if that's the first statement you're going to say. A statement you're going to make after you pronounce his name. But please go on.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Oh my gosh. What the hell? Boots on the ground. I hate your speech. Luckily for you, I'm not in charge. If I were you, you'd be now in cuffs, right? Literally, I could leave it at that. And that already would be enough of an explanation as to why hate speech is nonsense, both from a legal perspective and when it comes to government intervention. Why am I having to explain this to a Republican? I've been extremely critical when it comes to how people have been reacting to Charlie Kirk's assassination, when it comes to the celebration, mockery, laughing, and inhumane behavior that has revealed the lowest scum that the world has to offer. With that being said, one of the things that I've said throughout this entire debacle has been my position that even though the stuff that these people are saying and doing is absolutely disgusting, and I will show them since these videos are public, I don't want the police to go and get involved. Neither do I want the government to put boots on the ground, swatting their houses, sending the police, moving in the army, calling the National Guard, unless they use direct threats or incitement to violence. Because the rest, it can be as heinous as you want, it's still protected speech. And the simple fact that I may hate it gives me, nor anyone else, any right to do.
We will absolutely target you.
To absolutely target you. In other words, the concept of any government or authorities coming after you due to your hate speech is already illegal. It does not exist in our laws, and it should remain that way. This is why the following sentence is descriptive and apt. There is no hate speech. There is only speech you hate. Hate being the focus and nutshell of this discussion. What constitutes hate varies dramatically between cultures, time periods, and individual perspectives. And unlike clearly defined crimes such as assault, incitement to violence, direct threats, hate speech would depend on interpretation. It is extremely vague, which makes it severely dangerous at a societal level. And mind you, not just dangerous for your opponents, dangerous for all of us, because once we create a precedent and people start getting targeted and having the government coming after you because your speech has been deemed hateful, you might be happy about it because maybe you agree. Oh yeah, what they said is hate speech. Great. What happens when you change administration? Now what you say is going to become hate because there is a precedent. Now you're going to be the one in cuffs, or the one who has to limit their ability to express themselves in a free society. It is this cultural and temporal relativity that makes the concept of hate speech antithetical to the very foundations of Western thought. So what I would like to ask Attorney General Bondi here is this. How are you going to guard against selective enforcement? Who's going to decide what constitutes hate speech? And if the answer is the legal system, under the thumbs of the government, then what we're really talking about here is the expansion of government power. Problem is, you're right-wing. Right-wing is supposed to be about small government. What on earth are you doing? Not to mention, how about we quote Charlie Kirk himself, since she did use his name. Open quotes. Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There is ugly speech, there is gross speech, there is evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. Close quotes. Based. Isn't it ironic how people are going to use his name? I personally find it disrespectful to use a person's name in order to try to push an agenda that is in fact polar opposite to what they stood for, fought for, and died for.
These universities are complicit in allowing conservatives to be harassed on campus. And what happens when you allow a university to harass conservatives and don't expel or don't take an action is what happened last week.
It is, and you know, on a broader level, the anti-Semitism, what's been happening at college campuses around this country.
If you're going to bring up anti-Semitism, I would like you to first bring up anti-white sentiment in colleges and universities across the West, if you don't mind.
Country is disgusting, it's despicable, and we've been fighting that. We've been fighting these universities left and right, and we're not going
Tell me about it.
to stop. There's free speech, and then there's hate speech.
How do you not know what you believe in? How? What, did she miss the class? Senatus populusque Romanus. Sorry. After hearing nonsense, I needed my Latin palate cleanser.
And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
So, let me get this straight. We will target you if you use any hate speech to someone. Okay. Well, you just said that what someone else says is disgusting. What if someone considers that to be hate speech? I mean, disgusting is a very strong word, isn't it? See, here is the problem with that. Up to this point, we have had so many people trying to push this nonsense of hate speech on the left, unless I woke up on an alternate reality this morning, without even realizing that. Freaking multiverse, I guess. Telling us that if you say something hateful towards someone else, I don't know, one of them, maybe you've been hateful towards someone in general or just because you're an asshole, well then the law should arrest you, you fascist, you Nazi, you white supremacist, you despicable human being, disgusting monster, I hope they shoot you in the neck. Said the crowd who hate speech. Because the reality is that whoever is pro-hate speech laws is not actually pro-hate speech laws. They are pro-hate speech that only targets what their opponents say. But they can say whatever they want. This isn't a matter of, oh no, we're doing it because we want to sanitize adult society, treat everyone like a child. We want to live in a world where we only say butterflies and rainbows. Pun intended, I guess. If you don't like this Pepsi, you should say it's less nice than I thought. You shouldn't say this tastes like shit, because that's hate speech. You should say tummy, I guess, rather than stomach. But they could call you fascist and a Nazi and all the rest, and that's fine. Racist, and that's not hate speech. Somehow. Problem is, once again, and that's something I've been saying a lot to people that push for hate speech nonsense, is that the split second you create the precedent legally, and then, for whatever the heck reasons, the other side wins the next election, then they're gonna use it on you. But that could be considered hate speech too. So right now, you would be arrested and you would end up in prison, particularly if there is a switch of sides in power. Hate speech. I hate this speech.
What happened to Governor Shapiro? I talked to Josh multiple times. Democrat governor, Jewish. They firebombed his house while his wife and children were sleeping upstairs. It's a miracle. nothing worse happened to, it's a miracle that nothing happened to Josh and he and his family.
Now, having established she hasn't got a clue, apparently she clarified hate speech comment after blowback, so after the backlash. And let's see how she clarified it. Attorney General Pam Bondi on Tuesday clarifies remarks made on Katie Miller's podcast, where she suggested hate speech could be prosecuted under the law. Open quotes. Hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It's a crime, close quotes, Bondi wrote in a lengthy post on X. Okay, that as well. Before I continue this, then why did you call it hate speech? You're either extremely incompetent, because that's all you needed to say. I would have agreed. We would have all agreed at this point, except for the scumbag that is doing the calls for actions and violence. Literally, this was a slam dunk. This was the easiest point to win in recent political history. Easiest. Guys, we have a constitution. There is a First Amendment. Free speech, absolutely. We do believe in free speech, 100%. However, there is a First Amendment, and there is some speech that is not protected. For instance, incitement to violence, direct threats, and then the famous don't scream fire in a freaking theater. How do you become the Attorney General and fail to articulate the easiest point on green planet Earth? So once again, she's either incompetent or she tested it. She tested the waters. What happens if I say this? Are people mad enough to accept this? And if so, this is an opportunity to focus power. You choose. Either incompetent or she gave it a shot. You choose. Then we read, open quotes, there is no hate speech exception to the First Amendment, close quotes, says the Foundation for Individual Rights in a Monday post on X. And they're absolutely right. I just think personally, I can't prove it, but this sounds to me like testing the waters, seeing, let me send a little probe before I construct additional pylons. And let's see how the public responds. You choose which one you think is the case, but whichever it is, resign.